Hi, I'm Andrew from Nock Deighton. I am the branch principal of the Bridgnorth team here. I oversee about 6 members of staff. We have 2 valuers. I'm the lead valuer who sees the predominantly the most properties. We have an office manager, and then we also have 2 other negotiators and an administrator. We're a team of both sales and letting experts, so anybody looking for advice on both fronts, we can accommodate that. The current climate is quite challenging. We're seeing lots of activity, lots of buyer leads as well as seller leads. Most of the buyer leads that we're seeing at the moment are split between either those people looking to move outside from the area moving in, or we're looking for people that are in Bridgnorth already who are looking to try and upsize or downsize to meet their accommodation requirements at the moment. From a seller's point of view, it's very much a decision about now or later. What are the impacts on everything to do with Brexit and COVID-19? What are the impacts next year once the stamp duty holiday finishes on the 31st of March? So there's lots of questions. So the majority of sellers that I see don't necessarily have a clear plan of action. They know that they would like to move, but again, they've probably been on pause over the last couple of years with Brexit uncertainty. That do they now make the plunge, or do they hold off and see what next year brings as well? But it's a very interesting one because there's a huge amount of money to be saved with the stamp duty holiday, and there is a huge amount of buyers out there looking. So it really could be the good time to take the opportunity and make that move. So in terms of the Bridgnorth market, we've seen popularity and demand increase significantly. A huge amount of sales have come through. In fact, during June and July, we saw double the number of sales transactions that we would have done for the same period the previous year. So in terms of what people are looking for, it could be anything from a small town centre cottage to a big rural property where people just want that extra bit of space, really. We're certainly seeing Bridgnorth being quite an attraction because, one, obviously it's a lovely town, very pretty. We've got a great riverside location as well, but the schools are very sought after. We've got good amenities. There's a great social aspect in terms of sports clubs. We've got restaurants and pubs galore, and people do see Bridgnorth as somewhere that they visit and then almost aspire to want to live in, really. So that's the kind of things that people are looking for and making Bridgnorth quite popular, but also it's got quite an easy access from a commutability point of view. We've got easy access to the M54, motorway links as well, but also the West Midlands conurbation. You can be in Wolverhampton in just over half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. So I often get asked what one piece of advice I would give to anybody looking to try and sell and buy in the current climate, and I think the best piece of advice really would be don't wait until you find the perfect property. I see lots of people do that. They're not really prepared with their own properties in terms of photos and getting ready to the market, so there seems to be a huge rush then. You then get the heartache if somebody else beats you to getting that property and has their offer accepted before you. Buyers out there will obviously be looking, and the biggest challenge really is finding the right one. If that happens to be your property and you haven't yet found somewhere else, buyers are prepared to wait, and often longer than you think, really. If they're satisfied that they found the right one, they will give you the opportunity to move on and find somewhere else. But I think the minimum really is get yourself prepared in terms of all your marketing literature, get everything in place so that if you found that right property but you weren't confident of getting live, then at least hold back, and then if something did come up, then you would be able to strike much quicker. So a lot of our vendors often ask, what's the importance of levels of photography? Why pay for a professional photography when ultimately, standard shots surely they'll do? You've got literally a few seconds on whichever portal prospective purchasers are looking at to make the right impression. If you can get elevated shots, real crisp, clear photos that show off your property at its best, that is literally going to give you a long head start compared to other properties that you're kind of up against. No properties on the market in isolation. Buyers are literally choosing and comparing and contrasting different house types and styles, and often a great shot or a selection of great shots is really the difference between whether they make a decision on whether they view or not. Buyers out there are very busy and often quite time poor in terms of, you know, giving their own time up to come and view properties. So they want to make sure that what they see is definitely worthwhile them going to, and often that can be just a case of scanning a few photos, looking at the floor plan and measurements, and making a split-second decision as to what they do. So photography couldn't be any more important in the current climate. So as it stands at the moment, obviously there's been a number of changes that we've had to put in place because of new coronavirus rules, but the way that we are dealing with it is pretty much business unusual. The office is still open and fully manned. However, obviously appointments from the public coming in are strictly via appointment only. We are still carrying out valuations at the property. However, we need to wear full PPE to protect ourselves and also clients. You know, we're going into different properties. We need to make sure that the people we're going to see are also, you know, fully looked after as well in terms of that. We're also adapting lots of different types of technology. Video is one thing that will allow people to have a smoother view of the property rather than relying on stills. But we've also adapted an online virtual tour which will allow people to fully look at a property, look up, down, left, right, around each rooms, scan the floors, and they get a full view of the property from the comfort of their own home. And I think in the current climate, that's probably going to become more important than ever. So we've had to adapt a lot from a technology side of things, but also what we do in terms of staff and how we act and behave. But so far, I think we've risen to the challenge quite successfully.